Check, good. So I'm Max Duran, CWB Association Welding Podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, Welding Podcast.
The show is about to begin.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our annual CrossPod. Joining us this year for the first time is Frank Vargas with Uniweld. We're bringing him into the fold. I'll let everybody else introduce themselves. Go ahead, Kevin.
Kevin with JMW Fabrication and the Welding Business Owners Podcast. Great to be back here, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm Max Duran from the CWB Association Podcast, and this is always a good time. Sorry for the voice. This is my 9th speaking session this week. Oof.
That sounds like an excuse, Max. But anyway, I'm Frank Vargas with Uniweld Products. I also have a Torch Tales podcast as well, and just grateful to be here with you guys.
And obviously Jason Becker with Arc Junkies Podcast. Once again, it's good to be back. Every year it's a family reunion. We always say that, but it's been a great week catching up with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know we've been to a lot of the similar events. Did you guys actually get to see the show at all this year, Max?
45 minutes.
Okay, that's plenty. That's plenty. You can take this entire show in 45 minutes.
To do a little bit of walking. I didn't see anything on the south side. A little bit of welding, checked in on the boys at the booth, stopped in and saw the friends and did a little bit of touring, but hopefully after here I'll get to do a little bit.
Yeah, I worked to the bathroom a few times, so I kind of saw whatever was between the bathroom and the booth. So, yeah, so it was awesome. Yep.
Kevin, you always try to shy away from commitments during these things, so you can actually go see the show floor.
Yeah.
Plan workout again this year?
It did. It was really great. I got to see the welding side, and for this being I believe it's my 5th Fabtech, most of the stuff is kind of the same, changes a little bit. And the stuff that you've looked at other years, it's kind of cool to see how things evolve and get better and cheaper throughout the years. So I went over to the South Building yesterday. There's not much over there for us, so we kind of just hung out here today, and here we are, ready to fly out in about an hour and a half.
Yeah, you got the hard stop.
Wow.
Eh? Yeah.
The hard stop.
So where do you call home?
Pennsylvania.
Oh, cool.
Like an hour north of Philadelphia.
Short flight, yeah. All right, cool. No, so I think I agree with you. Definitely this is probably my 10th Fabtech, give or take. First time in Orlando, as we all know, right? Because of a lot of, right? Jason's, of course, is super happy because he's going home every single night. Are you actually?
No, I'm staying at the Rosen Center next door.
Yeah.
I forgot he has that AWS money, so yeah.
Oh.
He does not. I assure you, he does not.
He had to fight for that one.
Yeah, all right. But it's so good. But it's definitely, I call Fort Lauderdale home as well. So for me, it was just like, cool. First time, I'll take it. Yep.
So are you driving home every night? You go home?
It's a 3.5-4 hour drive.
Oh,
so
That's not what he asked.
Yeah. You're right. No. Yep.
No, the only reason I decided to stay here was because all the after hours events
Mm-hmm.
and then how early Fabtech starts. So I got to bed, at 4 o'clock last night, and then got up at 8 o'clock this morning to be over at the AWS booth at 9:30. I got an hour drive home, so it just made sense to stay over here just because of all the, you never know what time you're going home, but and then you got obligations in the morning. This year I tried to stay back with a lot of the obligations. I remember Chicago.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh man, I was so
nice.
busy. I think I did 7 podcasts that week down there in the dungeon.
Yep.
And then two or three up on the show floor. Plus, we did a couple of panel discussions,
couple stop-ins.
Yeah, all. So I didn't get to see any of the show. Just what was between point A and B. It's like, hey,
Yeah, I'll see you later.
Yeah,
Good tomorrow. Yep.
This year I tried to taper back on some of that, and I still didn't give myself enough time.
Well, to be honest, talking to you like 6 months ago, you were like, I'm going to take it super chill. I'm not going to do anything. I'm only going to do a couple things. We'll have lots of time to hang out and stuff. You didn't seem any less busy.
I know. I need to dial it back even further next time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. He says that every single time.
I say that every time. Yeah.
Yep.
And what about you, Frank? Like here, did you do any Torch Tale stuff? Did you do any podcast stuff?
So actually, I did too. For me, it's very different than you guys because I have a booth that I actually have to work and man the whole show. So it's usually either very early in the morning or late, and we know what happens after the show.
Yeah, that's content.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
All my work happens from like 6 p.m. to like 3 a.m.
The rated R version.
Yeah.
So that's the one that just stays in my phone and it doesn't go anywhere else, right? But no, it's been great. And but tomorrow I'm doing another one, and then I think I'm staying in Orlando for another week or so. So I have some things lined up too. Yeah.
Have you seen Frankie's setup?
No.
No?
Haven't been on his podcast yet.
Oh, I wouldn't try to bring up any bad blood. No. He has this Pelican case that's like this big.
And everything's just in there?
It's an entire freaking studio. He came over to Underground Metalworks to set something up. I was like, hey, man, set up over here. He like opens the box. And I thought he was going to put a little recorder on the table. No, he's got like everything. He's got a full light production studio inside of this box. I don't know how he does it.
It's that Uniweld money.
It's a money.
Really, just like Jason said earlier.
It's an entire,
it's not.
it's an entire studio. It's like, the cartoons where you hit the button and like everything starts to unfold.
Yeah.
And it, like next thing you know, it's like a McMansion. He's got all that in this little
Well,
box.
you know
awesome.
what it is? I travel like 3 weeks out of the month. So for me, if I had to travel with everything else you have, Max, there's no way I would do what I do. There's not a chance. So for me, it's like I went through some of the stuff in the beginning. I bought the big expensive camera and the whole thing. I'm like, oh, this is not going to work. It's way too much. I'm already on the road too much. So I'm like, I need to go lighter and lighter. So a few $1,000s later, I'm like, oh, that works. That's going to be the one.
Pay for the weight one way or the other.
Yeah.
Reduction or increases.
I know. But so far, I think I found the magic trick. So I'm
Does
happy with what I have.
Uniweld support your podcast?
So
Or is it two separate things?
So they know what I do, and they don't have a say. Well, of course they have a say. Yes,
They got a
If
little bit more pull than you know.
yeah. So let me just kind of rephrase that again. Yep. So no, they do. They know what I do, and they're really cool about the whole thing. So as long as they know that I'm also doing what I need to do for them, they're happy and they don't mind. They also know that organically just gives them recognition. People recognize me more, therefore I can have those conversations, open the door here and there. So no, they're cool, and I'm grateful for that.
What about you, Kevin? You got your business, the podcast. You don't have a booth here, though. You're here.
Nope.
You're here walking the show.
Yep.
You're not doing podcasts here, though.
No, my podcast actually started out from the meetups at Fabtech because I felt like I didn't have enough time to talk to everybody here, and I want to just hop on Zoom calls and hit record. And I did, and we put it out there, and it's grown since then. And I don't have any products to sell. I was selling a little bit of advertising to Lincoln, but then they stepped up and gave us everything we wanted for the Fabricator Olympics. And I kind of feel bad asking them for, hey, do you want to come, sponsor the podcast some more? So, no, you guys are talking about all this equipment, and I'm still probably like sub $400 in mine.
He's doing it right. Folks.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I have I have a $100 microphone. I've got my headset. I put these on. These things are nice. I'm still working like the $30 Amazon ones I got like 4 years ago, and plug it into my computer, and that's it. I need internet, and I just go.
Dude, trust me, you're the smart one. Yep.
I broke a pair of these the other day. I went to put them on, and I was like, why is this loose? And I took it off, and it just fell off, and I was like, I almost had a heart attack. I was like, oh, this is awful. And it's not a part that I can fix. So I was like,
just weld it, man.
Right,
Just
weld it.
3D print it.
I should have. Well, if I had somebody with a 3D printer, I could probably save them.
Well, there you
Design
go.
it. I'll send it to you.
They're still in the trash at the house. So, in the studio. No, so I'll pull them out. I'll show you the business.
Heck yeah.
This thing right here.
Right there?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Send me the broken one. I'll model up and print it out for you.
Oh, sweet.
Well,
See, that's all
there you go.
people
It's
you
already
know.
a win-win.
Heck yeah.
You know.
I guess
He
I'm lucky.
just wants to play with his toy.
I know, right?
I just send you an invoice about $105.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm gonna go-
Well, it would
I'm gonna go
actually
through my
be worth
trash,
it.
too.
I know.
Yep.
Money well spent.
I'm going to send you a few things, too. I'm going to go through my trash as well. So, Yep.
We don't want what's in your trash for you.
He never asked. Yep.
But I think we're supposed to talk about, because the boss over there said the topic of the discussion was going to be all about running, owning, and starting a business.
Right.
Which is something all of us have done one point or another, or currently doing. So let's kick it off with that. Like, Kevin, I mean, you run a couple different businesses.
Yeah.
What, first of all, what prompted you to start your business, the JMW Fabrication?
What prompted me was I was doing side work for a long time, and I was working at actually a scrapyard, doing the mechanical work and the welding there, and we started to get slow, and my boss said, you know what, I know you're doing your side thing. It's kind of what you want to do. How can I help you go out on your own? And
That was Bill.
No, this was another guy. And from there, I said, you know what, rent me a bay in one of your shops till I get my shop built. Because I had just went to the bank and gotten a loan to build my pole barn. And at that time, I'm like, do not lay me off. Don't fire me. I don't have the cash. I'm approved. It's coming. I don't have the cash yet. So built my shop and kind of went from there. But I would totally do it all over again because really for me, it's entrepreneurship is in me. And, you know, if somebody
It's like a virus.
It is. And I'm an entrepreneur in the welding space, but I could really be in a lot of other mechanical spaces if I wanted to, but this is just where my love is. And if somebody was looking to start a business, when you go into this venture, you have to think about you might be good at what you do at welding and fabrication, but there is so much more to it. And really, if the first step to starting a business is asking yourself, do you really want to do this? Do you know what you're getting into? Because everybody sees the money, everybody sees the stuff, everybody sees the time freedom that you have, which you really don't have.
When does all that come?
Yeah.
I was going to say, what do you mean everyone sees the money? Like where, when, how? Yep.
I mean,
It takes time.
everybody shows that, and that's what they want.
Yep.
And if you do it right, you can get that, but it is not easy. And you have to really ask yourself, if you are a good fabricator and good welder, there's a place for you in businesses. Like a lot of times I joke with all my guys, I'm like, I would rather just go hop on a mower and cut grass some days. That sounds really appealing on those hard days. And then in a week I'd be bored and I'd be back to it. But, you really have to ask yourself, is this for me? Do I love the business side? You don't have to love it. You just have to not hate it. you just have to, I really enjoy the business.
Ignore it.
You can't ignore it.
You
It's
cannot
common.
ignore it.
If you ignore it, you're going to fail.
Done.
You're going to fail. So you have to ask yourself, is this something I want to do? And should I be doing this? And do I have the experience? There's a lot of people who go out there, and some guys straight out of school, they see the money. They've been working at a place for 2 years. And they're like, I can do this. There's a lot of liability in what we do. You need to have experience. Like a lot of people, they're like, oh, I'm coming out of welding school. I want to start my own business. I'm like, don't. Go work for somebody. Go learn on their dollar. Go learn on their time. You get to leave it all behind at 5, 6 o'clock at night. Get your 10,000 hours in before you really go out there and do it.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I in my line of work, not only do I see so many businesses, that start within a year or two, they're gone because they don't do the homework.
Yep.
They just see that flashy lifestyle, the flexibility of like, hey, I can close and go whenever I want to. And then they realize that they didn't do the homework on what's my competition, what's my purpose, what do I want to do. So then they'll just, great, I just go 9 to 5, I don't have to work weekends anymore. And then they realize that they are responsible for every single little thing. They don't think about insurance, they don't think about all these other things that just keep piling up. And in my life, so I handle all of the U.S. and Canada as well. And sometimes I go visit one customer one time. A year later, they're no longer there. And then you talk to the owners, and what happened? Oh, now we're in the food business or in something else, because somebody else came in and put in the work. And definitely, they just pay attention to all the little details that most people don't. When all you see is like, oh, Max has a great business, I can copy that, but they don't know the 10,000 hours that you just talked about.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember I opened my own business many years ago, like 20 years ago. And I was doing dry nuts and fruits and all these kind of things and wholesaling to the cruise ships. And I had a bunch of accounts. And the one thing that I failed at, it was because I didn't trust anyone. So it was like, I can do it all myself. I set up my whole kitchen, everything in my house, stainless steel, you name it. I had everything going on. But I was working like 75 hours a week because I was never sleeping. I was always packing something or doing something. And I didn't want anyone else involved. Like, I got this. This is my baby. This is what I do. Don't even look at me. I'm done. That only lasted about 8 months. I got so burned out. I was like, this. I don't want to touch this. I don't want to do this ever again. So I started working for other big companies, of course. And I still have my own business in Dominican Republic, something that I opened about 4 or 5 years ago. And talk about being difficult having a business when you are next door to
another
it.
country. Yeah.
Now imagine when you have to satellite and run that business, kind of trusting everyone. So that's the one thing I learned from my first time, the first mistakes I've made of not just trusting. Now I'm like, I got to trust you because I have no choice. Yep.
Yeah, you definitely can't do it at all by yourself. And that's the one thing that I was facing quite a while ago. Still kind of going through it is the burnout. Because Kevin was saying, oh, yeah, they see all the time off and you can come and go as you want. No, when you own a business, like I only have to work half the day, right? It's which half? Like, which 12 hours out of the day do I want to work? And that's when I'm working part-time, So a lot of times it's like 6-7 days a week. You know, like Monday night, I was like, before Fabtech, I said, you know, I'm just going to go to the reception, you know, have a couple of waters, go get an early bedtime. Dude, I haven't had a day off since, I can't remember when. I know it was sometime in September, like way early September.
Yep.
But you really don't think about that. You're like, you know, I got a business. These are my operating hours. Yeah, those are the hours your doors are open. But, you know, you're doing purchasing, you're getting quotes, you know, whatever the case may be to run your business. It's like I'm the accountant, the marketing guy, the instructor. Like I did that funny little video on Instagram that I put
that
up
was
with
great, dude.
the Full House intro. And like,
I love that.
But I mean, that's what I feel like. You know, like I'm the custodian, the CWI, the electrician, the maintenance tech, the marketing director, like all
Floor
this
sweeper.
stuff. The floor sweeper, like
trash
all
guy.
this. But that's what nobody sees with the business. You know, they see, oh, you know, like I had so many people reach out when I opened up my school. They're like, hey, I'm thinking about, you know, setting up my own school, you know, here and, you know, doing the same thing up in, you know, this area. And it's like, good luck, man. They're like, what, you know, what can I do to get that set up? And it's like, really sit down and have a heart-to-heart with yourself and make sure that you're ready to do this, because if you're not, and you put all that time, money, and energy and effort into it, and you don't have the drive to keep it going, it's going to fail.
And the problem with that is too that once it fails, if it does fails, then you feel even worse, because now you're afraid of making that next step on anything. So now you're like, oh man, I don't want to go, because you, like you said, you know, you just go and I can do this. Jason did it, but they don't know all the other things that go behind.
Well,
it.
failure is a part of it.
It is,
right? Like there's a part of it. Like it's when you're in business, one thing you can't do is hand off responsibility to somebody else, because it's always your fault. No matter what happens, it's your fault.
Yep.
Right. So when you work for someone, you can be like, oh, where's my clamps?
Right.
Oh, my boss sucks. Where's my clamps? When you work for yourself, it's
where
My
did
boss
I
still
even?
sucks.
yeah. Now I got to take an hour of my day to go buy clamps. Now I'm behind on that for something I didn't think about in advance. And you just start piling on those responsibilities, doing the morning sit-ups that you're like, oh, did I remember to do that?
Yep.
You know, and then that constant feed of information that come in and out of you all day long, it's extremely tiring.
It is 100%. But even with that being said, I think we're in the best era ever, meaning, so it's still the easiest era for you to just open your own business. Because of everything from your phone. I mean, you can pretty much do anything here. Back in the day, when you looked at everything, you had to go to the bank. You had to do all these things. Like, you actually have to go there physically and do something. Right now, it's like, what are you doing? Just opening a company, setting up my tax thing, doing my whole thing. I just order all
website
my
done.
Correct. So within
Depositing checks, going to the bank right there virtually.
I know. So it is easy on that side of the things, but still not easy on running, even if you set that whole thing up. So
well, skill doesn't make the business.
Well, correct.
Right. Skill is just a tiny piece of it, because there's the brand, there's the marketing. I'm old enough that my first business I had to buy a radio.
Yeah. How old
right?
are
Like,
you,
I mean,
Mark?
and a radio ad was like $20,000 to get 30 seconds twice a week.
That's
Wow.
Yeah.
And like, what do you do with that? And it's welding.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, come on down. I'll do stuff. What?
I
I don't
things
know.
together.
Whatever you need, I guess. Like, so like, how do you do that as a small one? I always told people when I was younger, like, you want to start a welding business? Like, $1 million. Now I think that's not true anymore.
No.
Yeah.
That's not true anymore. Before, you needed $1 million, the footprint, the machinery, and you needed to be ready to float for 6 months because you're not making anything.
Yep.
Now I think you can have a welder in your garage. You can actually start doing blueprints. You can get SolidWorks. You can do everything on your own, and you can run a business out of your house for a tenth, right?
Yeah.
So
We were on our way here, and I got a phone call about a clarification on an estimate in the Uber from the airport here. And I went on my phone, and I just wrote up something and sent it over to them. And I looked back at the guys. I was like, what did they do? Like, how did they, they had a, like, if they needed a clarification on the bid, they would mail you blueprints, and you'd look at them, and then you'd mail them back the estimate. There's no clarification. Oh, you want it in writing? I'm going to have to drive across town and drop this off.
Facsimile.
Yeah.
yeah,
But
FedEx.
yeah, like, how did they run it? Like, it's so easy.
Slowly. They ran it slowly.
Real slow.
Yeah, yeah. And it was the pace. We didn't have the automation. We didn't have the tooling. It was slow, but everything was slow.
Yeah.
Right now, everything's fast, so you got to be fast.
Yeah, and I think, just going back to how easy some things are nowadays. I think I usually, because I get that question asked a lot from a lot of the youngsters when I'm at school or something. They're trying to open their own thing, and I go, well, the first thing that I would ever recommend is lock your name up, register that name, get your social media platforms, and get that there. Even if it just stays there dormant for a year, you already know that that's the name you like.
By your website.
Correct. Now you have that. Slowly, that is going to be the brick and mortar of whatever you do next. But you don't need, what, a couple $100 just to do that, maybe?
$75. Yeah.
So that's the one thing. I start with that, and just, that's how easy to spend, $7,500, and then you can just slowly, all right, I have a name. Maybe I can, let me add something more. And so on and so on. That's the first thing that I usually tell anyone.
Yeah, I was thinking Arc Junkers for my next one.
Yeah, that performs really well.
It's
Top quality stuff there.
Yeah,
it's probably available, actually. Yeah,
it's definitely available.
Yep. .net or .com. Yeah, which one?
But I mean, you guys are talking about the benefits of a cell phone because everything's instantaneous now, and I mean that's great for operating the business. I can check my emails on the fly, review prints on the fly, schedule classes, order
on
material.
The brain, though.
Oh, it is, and it's super distractive too. Like I turned all my notifications off because I got that OCD thing to where I see a red thing and I got to click on it. Yeah, a little red dot with a couple numbers in there. Oh, I got to check this. I got to check this, and like I started slowly weeding out some of the stuff the unnecessary tasks. But having instant access to this information, it also builds a lot of stress. Because now I need information right now. So when I send an email to a client, I need a response right now. And if I'm not getting it, it's like,
dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. Like, come on, man, check your email, send it back. I got to do.
That's the best thing I did like 3 months ago. We went on vacation. I took my email push notifications off. And yes, there is an anxiety when you see an email and you swipe past it and you're at home and you're like, I want to read it.
I don't have that skill yet.
I want to read it. But then on the flip side, turning them off, there's an anxiety there knowing that like, I should check my email. I should check my like, am I missing something? And like, I've dropped the ball on things, like things that I should have responded that day, which I usually would. And that's how I built my entire business is great customer service. Like, correct. I'm great. JMW is good customer service with a side of welding and fabrication. So me dropping the ball, which is really just getting back to them tomorrow, my customers are slowly getting used to that, but it has made me so much more present at home. It has reduced so much stress in my life. I can really think clear now because like I'm all over the place. I'm the big ideas guy. I've got 7 big ideas I want to work on and no time for any of it. Like I need to pay bills and keep payroll going. So it's really hard for me to stay focused. So being able to just not have notifications and like an email thread for every, over the next 2 hours, that could have been a phone call. I can actually get something done in that time.
It's just crazy because once you create that quick persona, like, hey, I'm the quick responder, like, hey, you send me something, I'm like there. And then a few years in, you go like, I don't want to be that person anymore.
Yeah.
But now everyone else is expecting that out of you, right? It's like, what the is Frank doing? Like, it's been 2 hours. He hasn't answered anything.
Yeah. Lazy.
So, so now and then you feel that pressure and you're like, damn, I guess I should answer.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think one of the best things I've done, I read that 40-hour work week from Tim Ferriss or whatever.
Yeah.
Is I put an auto reply for the first time. Like I never do auto reply because as soon as I get an email, boom, I'm responding, right? Like I'm Johnny on the spot. I'm tired of being Johnny. Like I got other shit to do. So I put that auto reply on, especially for the testing center, because I go back and forth and answer these ridiculous, mundane questions all the time. I need a certified welder. In what? So like now, when somebody emails me, it's right. It says hey, due to the high volume of work, I check my emails at this time, and I'll have a response here. If you send an email after this time, I'll reply back to you in 24 hours. And then, oh yeah, by the way, if you're looking for weld certification, here's all the information I need. And that has weeded out 90% of my emails because now customers and clients are like, oh, let's send him all this information. Now I've got everything. I don't have to have this preliminary back and forth and dot. Like what code are you testing to? What standard? How do you need this done? When do you need it? Type of material, position, process, all that stuff. And that has helped so much with all the mundane emails with the testing center, at least.
And you put that in your autoresponder?
It's in my autoresponder.
Yeah. Thank you for your email.
Please
Make sure
send
you
us
have
all
this.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
It is. It would probably take me about an hour to set my auto response because I haven't done that like in 20 years.
I had to YouTube it. I had to YouTube it. I was
go.
like, how do I set auto response?
It's actually really
Yeah.
Really? Well, sure. I guess you do it a lot, huh?
I do. No, I was going to say, you want to work for your future self, right? You want to work for your future self. You said it yourself. When I started, I wanted to reply to everything in 10 minutes.
Yep.
That's because you got the time, right?
That is true.
As you start getting more busy and you start getting bigger,
And lazier. Yeah.
you don't have the time, right? Once you start getting to having 200 people on your shop floor or 1,000 people, where you're like, I manage 70,000 members, 18 franchises, 2 divisions of a company. I am not replying within an hour, right? But you set up those expectations, the auto replies, and this is what I tell my staff all the time. We're not heart surgeons. There's no one dying on an operating table because I didn't get their handrail quote to them today, right? And then when you have been on site long enough, you also know that customer who's freaking out on you to get it right now is just going to go sit in some yard for 3 weeks before it goes anywhere. So let's be realistic about what we do. Let's be realistic about who we are, and then make those expectations clear with the customer. Yep, on it. We're busy. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. But and just to change subjects a little bit on that. So how do you, when you started your business, and for every one of you, and whether we work for someone else or something, how do you go about the competition? Do you pay a lot of attention to what the competitors are doing? How do you price yourself?
No.
And you're just like, hey, you do you, boo boo, I do me, and it is what it is.
There's more than enough work out there. But people are like, oh, do you know this company and this guy? I'm like, yeah, I've heard of them. Like, what do they do? I don't really know. Like, I stay in my lane. I put my head down, and we do good work. We price it well. We give really good customer service. That'll speak for itself. So I don't really pay any attention to pricing wise or what they do.
I really don't pay much attention to competition, especially when it comes to like the testing center, because the school is very unique. There's only like 3 people in the U.S. that are doing it. So the school practically sells itself. It's the only short-term training program that's open year-round.
Gotcha.
I know a couple other pop open like for 1 or 2 weeks out of the summer, but my school's open year-round. But when it comes to the testing center, I don't know what my competition is doing. I know where their price point kind of is because I hear from other people. They're like, "Oh, I can go over to this company and get it done cheaper." Have at it, man. Go ahead.
Yep.
I know I'm not the cheapest in town, but I've got awesome customer service and I've got a great turnaround, and I'm highly accurate with what I do. So if you want to get it cheaper somewhere else and not get that service, have at it. Go. For you want to save $100, go right down the road. I do not care because there's 10 people behind you that want to pay for my service.
Establishing your brand is everything, right? Like, who are you? What is your business? Customer service with a side of welding and fabrication. Love it, right?
Yeah.
You have these pieces where, okay, what's my brand? People will come for that. They don't care. Like, you don't go to McDonald's and ask for a Whopper. That's not a thing. No one cares, right? You go to McDonald's because you want a Big Mac. So why do people go to JMW? They want JMW products and services. Costs. You go to Arc Junkies or Underground Metalworks because that's what you want. When I had my shop, custom brackets, custom bracket. It's kind of a niche thing, but everyone can make brackets. Anybody can go make a bracket thing, but I got known for it.
Yep.
So then you run with it, right? It's just a thing that you get to do. So once you establish that brand, the money's not really the deciding factor.
Yeah.
Right? That it's very rarely that someone comes back on a quote and says, can you knock this down $15? Like, that's not the game we're in, right?
And if you set your business up to not chase those people, they don't usually come around. Because if when I first started out, I wanted to only work with good customers. Like, business is so much easier when you have people who enjoy like buying from you and working with you, and vice versa. They pay on time. The conversations are better. It's a lot less stress. And I have those, but now we are focusing more on people who buy on value and quality rather than price. And if you really chase after that work and have that in your mindset, and be able to politely fire the bad customers, business is so much easier.
That's actually was going to be my next question. How do you fire a customer? Like, hey, we're not a fit. It doesn't matter what I do or what you do. We just can work together. So have you ever had those two?
You have a red light above your door. You turn it on when they come in.
Yeah. Right. The chair, the flipping chair. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll straight up tell them. We had a company by us. They do paving and things, and they're trying to pull one over, and I didn't see it the first time I went out there, and I gave them the bill, and I told them I was upfront with the pricing, this and that, and I said, okay, well then pay me pay me what you think it was worth. Even I you know, it was.
You
I
would
think
never
it was,
do that now. Yeah.
I would never do that now. No. Well, no. So I gave him a ballpark quote of what it was, and then he added things on. And then he's like, well, you told me this. I'm like, yeah, but you did. But he's like, it's no big deal. I'm like, you know what? I'm not very confrontational like that. All right, I'm gonna be I told you the price. You were the one who added more onto this. Fine, I'll take the hit on this one. And then he called me up. I think his son called me. And, well, his son hired me. And then the father called me a few months later. Oh, we're over here doing this. I'm like, oh, your son's this. Yeah. I said, you know what? We had a really bad experience with you guys. There was a lot of integrity issues on your end, and I don't think we're interested in working with you. And he totally got it. Like,
really?
Yeah. Like he's like,
He knows his kid.
He's like,
I know my son, yeah.
understood. And there's some people who, even with when you email us or call us and you need something, Melissa is the first person that you get. And if you are,
You can sense it.
She's the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
she is, and she's a really good gatekeeper. And there have been times where it seems like a good job, and they're like, "Can I talk to who's in charge?" She's like, "It's me." Well, I need to talk to the guy there.
Right.
And I'm like, she's like, well, no, you can't talk to Kevin. And one time they actually found my number and contacted me instead. And she told me that like it was, I put two and two together, and I told him, I'm like, look, this isn't going to work out just from right now. I'm like, you cannot disrespect anybody in my company, let alone my wife. No, go somewhere else. Sorry.
I've had to take
Good
people to
for you.
court, man. In business, I've had
Really?
to take people to court, and what a waste of time.
Yeah.
What a waste of time to string something out for a few $1,000. But basically, I worked for a guy. This is when I was doing my Hollywood stint, where I was building cars for Hollywood, and I was working for this film company, and they asked for like 40 some cars. So you're in deep on all these cars, and they got the movie got canceled.
Gotcha.
Right. So
We
they're
don't need it anymore.
yeah, we don't need it.
Yep.
We don't need these 40 cars. We
Yeah.
don't need all this stuff. And we had a contract that had all been signed. So I'm like, went to the guy who contracted me, and I was like, well, you still owe me the money.
Mhm.
I did my job. Like, you're done. You have 38 Novas and 2 Suburbans. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? And they were like, no, I didn't get paid, so you don't get paid. And I was like, what? Like, I don't understand how that thought process works.
Yeah.
And I had to chase him down in court. Years later, I got paid, but man, like, you don't ever want to get put in those terrible situations.
Yeah.
But you know that's a good point actually, because when you have a business, like when do you think about a contract? When do you think about, hey, let me cover myself to make sure that I got all the check boxes, under my belt, just in case something like that happens. And so when you first start,
You say yes to everything.
exactly, it's like, oh, I'm just excited. He's willing. Oh my God, he looked at. Wow, yeah, thank you. All right,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got to go through something like that, and then just like, oh, right.
Well, and you think, like, that's just the end product. Then you go home pissed off, and you think about the hours you lost with staff, the jobs you didn't take that could have been occupying your floor plan, and then you start spiraling, being like, should I even own a business? Again, that was a big mistake. How could I do that? How do you trust somebody? It's like those mistakes they're big learning lessons.
You can look at my progression through business through the terms that get added to the end of my
Right,
books.
I know, right? It was half a sheet. Now it's like 5 pages
It's like,
long.
you know
right?
what? I'm going to add that in there, and it just keeps growing. Every time something goes wrong,
Lesson learned.
Lesson learned is
But
going on the quote.
We did the same thing. We actually made a big plaque that said custom is full pay. Period.
Yeah.
If it's a blueprint, run of the mill, we can work terms. But if you're asking me to do custom work where I'm like, not something I normally do, this is something I'm pulling guys aside to work on, this is up front. Like, you're paying for it up front. Like, it is what it is.
Progress payments.
Yeah.
Progress payments are a huge thing. And I didn't know that when I first started, because I didn't know that asking for a deposit was a normal thing. I felt like weird
Right.
about it, because like I just didn't have the money. I'm like,
Yep.
I need like $1,000 to buy your material, like
To get started.
to get started. And I'm like all nervous and asking for it. It's a normal thing now. You can do
You
30.
take PayPal?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I'll take
They're
Bitcoin.
waiting. They're waiting. They're waiting for that question.
But that's a good point. So, for example, the manufacturing company that I work for, every once in a while we do a lot of things custom made for certain people, and of course we have the catalog items. Those are the ABC items and so on. And every so often you have someone, hey, can you make me this one thing with that other thing? I'm like, great, sure, of course we can make anything. I need 75% down.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Wait, what? No.
Upfront, yeah.
Yeah, so those are the things that you learn sometimes, even when you work for somebody else.
Mhm.
That that's how that system works. So, and then you apply that to the stuff when you are going on your own and you just want to I'm going to just copy and paste a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was fortunate because when I started my mobile welding business, I had a really good mentor that was getting out of the mobile welding business game
Nice.
and retiring. So he actually gave me a couple of his clients, and he told me up front, you get 50% down or the cost of the material, depending on the job. That way, if I go to buy the material and all of a sudden the customer's like, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. Now I'm holding all this material. I got to build something with it. The manufacturer's not, or the company's not going to take it back.
Yeah.
So get 50% down, or at least the cost of the material.
Fire pits.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So the one project I was going to do was a grill. I built that Santa Maria cooking grill on weld.com, and this guy reached out to me. He's like, man, I want one of those. I need 2 of them. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. And he's like, I need them out of stainless steel. I was like,
What? All right.
I was like, okay.
Do you
I was
really?
like, just the price just
I know,
tripled.
right?
Okay. He's like, send me a quote. I was like, okay, here's the price on both. Oh yeah, it's not going to work for me. Maybe my brother's not going to get one for Christmas this year. Send me a quote on one. So it was like 25% less because you guys know once you build something, it's easy. It's cheaper to build multiple than it is the first one, right? And so I was like, here's the price. He's like, okay, that's doable. And I was like, all right, I need 50% down, or which was essentially the cost of material.
Yeah.
He's like, that's not doable.
Well, it took him like 2 to 3 days to respond, and he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to swing this one, man. Like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not. Good.
I'm going to go to Home Depot.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
You go to Home Depot, gonna get a Weber.
Yeah.
But if
Well,
like firing clients, going back to that, like I fire clients through price point.
Oh,
Yeah,
so you know
just-
that
So
it was
I
going to
know
be
that they're going to be a pain in the
Gotcha.
and so I add that additional fee. Like we've all seen it on the wall. It's
Toll fee.
yeah. If I do it, if it's like $50 an hour. If you watch, it's $75. If you help, it's $100. Like I do the same thing because it's like you're a pain in the client. Here's your pricing. I give them custom pricing to price myself out of the work.
So I've tried that before. So the other day, someone came to me and said, hey, by the way, I need this one thing. And he's a very good friend of actually all of us. And so I kind of priced, no. Yep. So, they said, hey, I need this one thing. And I said, okay, cool. And I really wasn't into it. I'm like, that's just going to add so much more work to me. And I'm like, hey, the only way I can do that is I need 100 of them. And it's this price without a blink. Okay.
Dang it.
Shoot.
Yeah, but now it's actually worth it.
I know, right?
Where it'll be worth it
Yeah.
if they say yes.
I know. So now I'm like, oh, okay. I should be doing that more often. Yeah.
We've got a line item it's the PETA line item, the pain in the tax.
Yeah.
And really, and that's not out of being a jerk and not wanting to do it.
Oh, that's fair.
It's people need their handheld,
Sure,
and
Kevin.
you can tell when they're on the phone
Right away.
that they're high strung, and it costs time. Like it takes my time, therefore I need to bill for that time. And you can call it, management fees or hand holding or whatever. I just put pain in the tax because I know it's going to be a pain in the ass. I'm going to get a lot of emails and phone calls, and I'm going to have to do a lot of back and forth. And it's not wrong to charge for that.
Time is time.
Yeah.
Time is time.
100%. And what about when you are growing and you're still scared of bringing people in? And, you're looking at I've grown 25%, 20%. Maybe I can actually invest on somebody else, and so I can just do less or just focus on business and not work, right? So when do you think it's the right timing to add somebody else to the payroll? When you just started a company?
For me, it was the right time. So I had catalog items. And so I had things that were recurring builds, like it's like I said, back brackets.
Yeah.
I knew that I was going to sell 150 of those every month. I'd been doing it for 6 months. I have contracts 2 years out.
Okay.
That deserves a staff. That's not
All
me.
right.
I can do that now. I can bring someone in and they can just start covering small chunks of responsibility on them.
So you haven't made the money yet.
No.
But you just know it's coming.
I think that if you're waiting to make the money before you expand, you're not going to get there.
Okay. What about you?
I think it goes by the hours. When I was doing 60, 70, 80 hours a week, I realized I'm like, I could keep 40-hour full-time person busy. And I dipped my toe in, and, I hired a part-time guy, and then he would come in, I'd work around his schedule because he worked somewhere else. And then he was busy enough that I'm like, hey man, do you want to come full-time? And then it grew from there. And that was more like material processing, wire wheeling, priming, painting, things like that. And from there, after he was full-time, I worked in a deal with another part-time guy. And then he would come in, 3, 5, 6 hours a day after he was done his other job. And then I hired another full-time person. So really, it's when you can keep somebody, when you're doing 60, 70, 80 hours a week, that's another 40 hours for somebody else. And then that also frees up your schedule to keep moving the business forward, the ball rolling in the right direction, instead of you running out and getting hardware. You sitting there wire wheeling everything so that you can put primer on
That's
it.
not
Just
your job
pay
anymore.
somebody else
Yeah.
to do it,
I'm in that spot right now, and I'm actually waiting to be able to afford it to hire somebody on.
Are you?
Sure.
Yeah.
I find that to be, it holds you back.
It does, but I have to be able to justify being able to bring somebody on
Correct.
because I've already got loans out through the bank to when we purchased the school. So my overhead throughout the month is $8,000 to break even. So to bring somebody else on and be responsible for that, if I can't generate the additional business and income, now I'm screwing somebody else over.
But when I started my first business, I did something really stupid that worked out. I took no loans. I literally started with a $300, it was 140-foot square piece of a shop that I just had to work a table and a welder, and I just started organically growing. So I was never behind the ball, right? So when I could hire, it was because I was just busy enough. And then I could hire, and then when it grew, it's because I already had the work. So I was never caught in a point where I owed someone my money before I made it, which was a luxury.
Yeah,
But
you were in a very lucky place.
But
yeah,
that takes time.
Yeah.
Right. And most people don't want to put that time into growth. They want to get bigger quicker, and it's doable, sure, but you need the capital, and it's hard to. Now you got this number sitting over your head. You got to hit the time.
You need that capital. That was a big thing where the jobs would come in and they were bigger, and this is awesome. And instead of taking like a week to push out the door and send an invoice, it's a month. Well, I've 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people on payroll. I'm not sending an invoice for 30 days. I need to cover their payroll, not for only that 30 days, but the 30 days after that until I get that check in. And I put myself in a few bad spots because I just didn't didn't take enough money down. I didn't foresee that. And that really put me in a just because you think it's, this is a great job. It's, when it's just you and one guy, it's like, oh, $30,000 is great.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like,
I don't have to work for 5 months.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, well, $5,000 in material, and then you have to process it, and you have to pay the powder coater and the paint and the material, and keep all the bills
Lights.
paid. Yeah, so you have to be careful. If you don't have the available capital to float that, you just need to grow real incremental.
Yeah.
Yeah, when everything's coming out of your bank, it's your own wallet.
Yeah,
you really just second guess every single decision. It's not as easy as I work for someone now. Hey, we need this. Sure, go ahead. Hey, I just walk in, clock out, and go home. But so the first business I lost, it was a combination of me not trusting anyone, and also because I was forking everything, of course, just like most of us here when we first start. And 8 months in, I think the pressure of just doing it all by myself, not trusting anyone, and then you add money situation as well. You're like, oof, dude, I'm just my divorce, my family, everything's just gonna go out the door, because now you are just looking for a trigger. Like anything that anybody says, what, let's go right now. Because you're always just mad about
just
everything.
Anxious, yeah.
It's just anxious. It's just everyone pays the price around you. Yep.
So now talking about capital, if you're getting ready to start your business, aside from the expenses of operating the business, what do you think you should have as far as capital when you're first setting up, and some of the other things that go along with setting up the business?
So you think capital to start what kind of business, or also just to cover you for a certain amount of time?
Yeah. What's that magic number? Like if I'm
I was 3 months. I was always 3 months.
Okay.
Would never try to get under 3 months. If I was getting close to that 3 month line, it'd be like, okay, I personally got to get out there and find some jobs or bring some stuff in or start figuring it out, because it would be sometimes 90 days before I get paid on big jobs that would tie up. At one point, I had 12 staff.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's, you're looking at $400, or $40,000 a month wages.
Yep.
Right. So if you don't got that in the bank account, for me, it was always number one, take care of my staff. I'm not going to miss paying them, even if I don't pay myself. I'm paying them. Right.
Happens a lot.
It happens a lot when you start. I actually started working a night job during some of my tight times because I'm running my shop. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go work for a welding shop at night, just pulling trigger to bring in a steady income just to make sure I don't ever fall behind that line, right?
Mm-hmm. What's yours, Frank? When you were running yours, like, what was that magic number for, in months, not dollar amount, obviously?
Yeah, correct. So, so right now I still have a business in the distributorship. And definitely 3 to 6 months is usually, but I also think it has to do with what kind of business. Because if the overhead is very high, and let's say, I need $20,000. All right, well, that's $100,000. Like, if you want to cover 5-6 months, right? So not everyone has that just laying there. So the type of business is also going to determine how far you can go, but minimum at least 3 months. Right now, I'm on the losing end, because right now everything's coming out of wallet, and all that cash that I had is kind of gone. So I got to make some decisions on what I have there. But yeah, it's magic number. It's like, I wish I had a year,
Yeah. What about you, Kev?
So when I first started, I was kind of semi-forced into starting because he's like, how can I help you go on your own? I never had a number.
Get out of here.
Are you sure you don't want to start a business?
You need to go to another table. Yep.
Yeah, I never had a magic number. It was I just kept on grinding as long as there was money there.
Like literally grinding? Like,
well, both.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Grinding for days. Yep. Welding for days. Yeah. So I don't have a good answer for that. I would say 3 months is it's comfortable. It's comfortable. Like, you can have some wins and losses and still be able to pay yourself, your mortgage, not put your family in a bad spot. And, knowing your numbers is really important.
I've always pushed for a 6-month mark.
Oh,
That's like a nice cushion to have if something goes wrong, something goes haywire. We don't have like short-term disability as a business owner. If I'm out, I'm screwed. Like, I'm the guy that's running all this stuff.
Yep.
Especially if you have an employee or several employees, you need a good buffer. I think 6 months is, if you can get up to that. I mean, that's something that, if things go off the wall, you got to work towards it. But I think 6 months is like a really good cushion to have, just in case, like I said, short-term disability, you fall ill, something happens. A lot of the business owners I talk to, they say that like 6 months is right around that sweet spot.
Yep.
I mean, you're going to play trying to get it. But once you get it there, try to keep that there, so you always have that good buffer, and you can still operate your business. You got money coming in.
You're talking about bringing in one more staff.
Yeah.
Your 6 months drops to 3 months.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yep.
Right there.
One staff.
Then
right?
I got to build back up to that 6 month mark.
That's right. Because as soon as you start bringing in more people, they start halving at it, right? They start taking out of that pie.
But one of the other things, when you bring someone in, it's not just about the money. Now you have to make sure that they bought in. Like, they believe in your vision that, hey, they're going to represent the company the right way, because those 6 months or whatever work you've done before, one single person within a month can really ruin everything.
Oh, yeah. You can't be a geek off the street. You got to be pretty handy with the steel.
That's good. But yeah, your reputation, man, at the end of the day, you've worked so hard to just make something out of your name, your brand, whatever it is. And someone just comes in and just bad customer service, whatever it is. And now everything you've done is like, out the door, start from zero again. So that's the other part why we all fear. It's not just about the money all the time.
Yeah. We one of the things we do with our guys is, to help represent, having them know that the customers are watching them. We have an outstanding thing in our shop where if their name gets mentioned in a Google ad review, they get $50. So that way they help represent our company well, because it also benefits them too. Like we do want to do a profit bonusing down the road. But it's in the short term, that's how we're doing it.
Now, are you vetting these reviews, or is Dylan having all his high school buddies write off the reviews?
20,000 new emails, right? Yeah.
A review is a
Dylan
review.
nailed it.
A 5-star review is a 5-star review.
So, but that's a good point that you bring that up, because do you guys actually ask your customers, hey, or make it easier for them, the QR code. Hey, please give me a 5-star review.
Yeah.
Things like
I do
that.
surveys.
Because it goes a long way.
I kind of overdo it because the so like the software that we have for the school, because that's where I'm worried about my reviews. But the testing
Gotcha.
center is all word of mouth. But with the school, I always ask them on Friday, hey, if you like the class, if you enjoyed yourself, please get on Google, leave us a review. And I've actually had, we asked day one, how did you find out about the school? Why did you decide to come here? And a lot of them say it's because your reviews are phenomenal. But the thing is, so like when they schedule a week-long class, it schedules 5 different sessions. So Sunday night,
5 reviews.
So hold on, Sunday night they get, hey, you're scheduled for this, session. It starts Monday morning. Be there at 8. Here's everything you need to know. And then when they leave the class that day at 5 p.m., they get, hey, how did you enjoy the class? Please, leave us a review. And then they get another email. Hey, you're scheduled for, a class Tuesday. Here's, be there at 8 o'clock. So they get these every single, so I tell them, like first day of class, sorry for all the emails. Just disregard them. Just show up every day, at 8, and don't leave a review till Friday once you've been through the full class. But it's because that software we use, it breaks it up into 5 individual sessions instead of a week-long class.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a pain in the but we over-ask them. But by Friday, they always remember to leave a review.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Do you get any bad ones, though?
I have not.
So how is that helpful?
How is that helpful?
Because you want,
I
need
think
bad ones.
I know what you're trying to say.
right? You need to know what you're doing wrong.
Well, I do.
If everything's good,
I do
really
need to know,
helpful,
but nobody.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody has a black.
Just tell me. Just don't put it on Google. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so that's what we do. We coached our guys on how to ask for reviews, and all jobs are not 5-star jobs. Things just happen. I won't even ask somebody unless I know they're going to give us a 5-star review. No, really.
That's not fair.
And well, we only want 5 stars. I don't want
Life's not fair. Get a
4.7,
helmet.
4.9. I want 5-star. Like we've got 40, 50 like 5-star reviews. And what we say is, listen, and I coach my guys because they have a stake in this game also because they get $50 if their name is mentioned. If both 2 names are mentioned, that's $100, right? That's a $100 review. But we say, if you feel that we earn 5 stars, please give us 5 stars. I'm going to send you the link right now. Just click on it, and it automatically pops up. If you feel for any reason we don't deserve 5 stars, please let us know, and we will earn that 5th star. That way, we're subliminally telling them we don't want you to leave a 4-star. I only want 5 stars, and that's how we've done it. I'd rather have less reviews and all 5 stars, and we've got compliments on them. They're like all the other welders out there in our area, because I think it really helps with ranking Google locally. He's a welder near me. JMW Fabrication has like 45-star reviews. The closest one is like 4.5, and they have like 14 reviews. So it really helps us rank.
And that's a great point too. And hey, if it works for you, who are we to say that it's not working? Right?
Yeah,
you're getting it.
Yeah.
But in today's world, with how easy it is to just use social media for free, do you guys actually also pay for ad or recommend?
I pay for ads.
I pay for
You do?
ads.
Me too, for ads.
You do?
Yeah.
A lot of money.
Really?
Well,
how much?
We're about we spend about $1,600 a month in actual Google ads, and then another $1,500 on somebody to manage it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I mean it's Jason.
We run through social media because that's like where our target audience is hanging out. So every couple of weeks, especially when we release a new class schedule, or like the classes aren't filling up fast enough, I'll reach out to Audrey and say, hey, put a $250, put an ad together, put $250 over the course of 2 weeks, and boom, like within I'd say 4 or 5 days, the classes are filled.
So which platforms do you guys recommend the most?
Meta.
Gotcha. Same for you, Kevin?
Google ads.
All right.
We're Google, Meta, and then for the business side, we're on LinkedIn.
I need to learn the Google part. I need to get on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's getting a lot of pull.
Well, I get a lot of retirees that come into the program, and I know they're not finding me through Instagram. It's all word of mouth, and they're Googling it. But if I could get a Google ad to pop up, that's going to be even better.
There's a whole art to that. There's a
I've heard
whole art to that.
SEO and all that.
Yeah. I fumbled with it for so long, and I like to say I know enough to be dangerous, but I'm not good. So like I'm kind of a pain when it comes to like I had somebody run my Google ads before, and they tanked them, and I was doing better just by myself.
Gotcha.
And recently, I just hired 2 months ago. I hired a firm, really well recommended. They, according to them, they've never lost a client. They're like, nobody's ever left.
Only
So-
5 reviews.
Only
Right?
5
Yeah.
star.
Now we get it. Now we get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Method to his madness.
so I'm trusting them to do it, and we've got it set up and we've got to implement it. And there's a lot of ways to really hone in on who you're looking for, because like they did an analysis on what our Google ads were, who they were serving to.
The personas.
Yeah,
Yep.
And most of our ads were going to the bottom 50% of the money earned, like $50,000 and less. That's not our clientele. So like they somehow raised the bar on the back end. So now we're getting less traffic, but it's more qualified traffic, and they have more money to spend.
Gotcha. Yeah, I totally get it. So tell me, because I said earlier how what I think, and usually what I tell someone that wants to start a business, hey, just get your names first and all that, but give me your top 5 things in order that you guys think that you have an idea, do these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things first.
I can't do it in priority, but the first thing I would say is sit down and write yourself an honest business plan.
Write it down.
Write it down. Go ahead.
There's actually online
Oh, yeah.
business plan templates.
Yep.
Yep.
Download
For sure.
one, read it, try to fill it in, and see if you're up your butt. You know, like really see if like you know what you're talking about.
Gotcha. Kevin?
Okay.
Like first off, if you want to do it, like, do you really want to do it?
Okay.
Find your niche. Find your niche. Like we did everything across the board, and we did it well. I did it. But hiring for that is really hard, and it's hard to find those guys. So find your niche, stick with it. Treat it like I said before. Like we are in the customer service business with the side of welding. Everybody wants to work with somebody who is easy to work with, is honest, has good value for what they charge, and evaluate that in yourself and go after that demographic and price yourself well. Build your structure of your business as in insurance and your accountants, and have a goal of where you're going to go before you start. Like let other people do what they are good at, and you stick with what you're good at. Don't try to do it all. I made that mistake. Don't do it.
And you're gonna do it poorly. Like,
Yeah.
Don't even try.
Yeah.
For sure. So you're in that same line, Jason?
Yeah. Like I said, like set up a solid business plan. There's Max was saying there's templates online. When we went to go purchase Underground Metalworks, this was the cool thing. We had to go to a bank. And I was like, felt like that little what's the
Yeah.
guy's name? Please, I'd like to vote.
Yeah.
So I had a business plan from when I set up my mobile welding business, Metal Trends. So we have this thing called the South Lake Business Development Center or whatever, SBDC. And so that guy sat down with me when I built that, and I never did anything with that business plan, but I had an awesome template to start with. So I just started pulling everything into that business plan when we set up Underground Metalworks. And that was the one thing that set us apart to be able to get that loan. They were very apprehensive about giving us a loan just because they're like, we don't know if this concept's going to work. Nobody else is doing this. You don't have a proven track record of running a business, and none of that. But when I walked in, I handed each one of them I took it down to Staples and got like legit nice booklets made.
Binder, yeah.
And the guy goes, "What's this?" I said, "It's a business plan."
Wow.
And I've worked at this bank for 15 years. Nobody's brought me a business plan.
That's a great start.
And so he opened it up, and he's like, "Holy!" He's like, "This is like really nice. This is legit."
Yep.
And he went through all the finances and the numbers, like everything that's in there, and he goes, "I think we can work with this."
So
Wow.
I'll get this one.
That was the
I-
biggest thing.
I just got goosebumps. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Me too,
I'm
but it's
from
cool.
Yeah,
as
right.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, yeah.
so
Yep.
I'm in Canada, right? So we got
Yep.
some different things up there. We have this thing called the Business Development Bank of Canada. So it's the same type of thing. When I went to the bank, I was thinking about starting a business. They're like, you need to get a business plan. I went down there and I was like, okay, I got to get a business plan. They're like, we have these templates. Cool. They're like, there's a 2-week course that we offer on how to start a business.
Really?
It's free, paid for the government. You want to take it? I was like, of course.
You guys get a lot of free
We
things.
do. We pay a lot of taxes.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So it's not free anymore. Yep.
Right. But so like I got kind of mentored. They basically helped me write my business. 2 years, 3 years, 5 years projections, what my skill sets were, what we're planning on doing, how much money I need realistically. I was totally underselling myself. I thought I'd be like, $100 grand, I can get rolling. After doing the business plan, they're like, no. You need like 300 grand. Get real. You know, and I was like, oh, damn, okay, like, let's do this.
I'll be back.
Thanks.
And what about, so now you have your business. Now you have the business is going on. When do you think that it's a good time to say, hey, this is not working, I should pull the plug? Like, how long do you go?
Well, how many businesses have you tanked?
Well, I got 2 under my belt.
Yeah, my third one took off. My first 2 were terrible.
I haven't tanked any. I've closed some up.
Yeah. So,
I
but
broke even at the end.
when do you make that decision?
Yeah,
like, you know what? It's 6 months. It's a year. How do you make that decision, and why?
I shut mine down because of a new opportunity.
Okay, so that makes sense.
I was like, I was getting to the point of my business where it was growing, and it was like, get off the pot, and I was kind of getting scared, and it was like, my next step is to hire an employee or take this opportunity. And the opportunity provided me security and insurance and benefits and a steady paycheck, because the other part was the unknown. You know, I bring somebody else on now. I'm responsible for him, his family, and all this other stuff. Am I going to be able to keep pulling in work? So I was like, I'm going to get into full-time teaching, and I'm going to shut this business down.
Got it.
I haven't shut down a business, but I've considered it a few times.
Daily.
Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
if it's worth it, do I
Yeah.
truly enjoy this? Do I want to do this? Is it worth the trade-off for the time and freedom? At that point, it was really not time, freedom, or money. And but I still enjoyed it, and I know it's in my blood. So I really had to think of that. There's been a few times, and I've considered it. And if I go get a job somewhere else, I'm going to be miserable in about 3 months. So I have a reputation. I have a skill. I have the tools. Let's just take a minute. Let's reset, and let's figure out how to do this the right way.
Yeah, in my case, the first time it took me too long, but because of, now you're judging like, hey, people are going to think failure, whatever, and your mind starts going off, and you just actually just keep pulling money out of your check, and I'm like, oh my God, now I'm very deep. It's going to turn around. It's going to turn around. It's going to come back. Nope. Now I'm broke.
Well, you're not in the right mindset.
Oh, it's the ego. It's just like, just let go. Just let go when you know that you've given everything you got and it's just not working.
Walt Disney went bankrupt 9 times building that theme park 20 minutes from here.
Yeah.
Well,
9 freaking times. So it depends. Do you got to be passionate about it. That's why I said when you set up your business, you got to have a heart to heart. Am I going to be able to see this through? That's the biggest thing, especially like we've all been through it. When you get to that point, I mean, there's not a day that goes by that, I think, there's a lawnmower out there with my name on it, right? Just it'd be so much easier going to work for somebody else. And it's like, at the end of the day, I sit back and think to myself, it's like, you know what? I fought and struggled and strived to do this. I'm going to keep pushing it through because it's going to get better. This is what I asked for, because like Kevin said at the beginning of the episode, like everybody sees the money, all the flashing stuff and this, that, and the other thing, and the free time. And like, I had all that for a while, and then I opened up a business. But now it's like, man, why did I give everything up? And it's like, did I just shut this down and go back and work for somebody else and build everything back up? It's like, no, I'm going to ride this till the wheels fall off. I'm going to push through, because this is what I worked for.
Got it.
This is the hard part. Like it's going to get easier. I'm walking up the hill right now.
Yep. No, it makes sense. And what about because I know you have a partner, right? Yep. So what about bringing one? When you are opening a business and you are taking those, man, do I bring one in? I just go by myself, is that easy?
No.
Terrible.
Yeah. Everybody I talked to when I was setting my business up, everybody told me, do not bring in a partner.
I got ripped off straight up. A partner, shut the business. It was one of my failures. Trusted the wrong person, lost half my income, got divorced. Everything collapsed. My whole life was over. I had to start from scratch.
So are you guys saying don't bring a partner? Is that what you guys are saying?
Number one, it can't be family.
Definitely not family.
Do not do family, number one. Number two, they got to have a steady income from wherever they're coming from. It's not just you. It's not just them coming in and say, I'll pitch in 30 grand in my time and we'll do this.
Right? An angel investor. Yeah.
No. You're already a millionaire and you got some cash to help me out. we got a dream. We can work this out. Maybe. No, that's more your situation, right? But like, you got to be real careful because it's if it's your skill that's making the business run, that's your skin in the game.
Correct.
Cash is not skin in the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I was always told the only ship that's made to sink is a partnership, and I've seen it.
Hey, I like
No,
that.
no,
quote.
I
love
and
that.
I love that.
I've
Yeah.
been around a lot of business owners my entire life in all the different. I've seen one out of 150, 200 people who I know who are in business. I've seen one actually work, and I even talked to the one partner, and he feels slighted with a lot of his things.
Yeah.
He feels like he does more, but they have good defined roles, and you know, he gets the stuff done, and his partner does all the finance. So it can work if you have good roles and responsibilities. I don't think I could ever do it. I'm just too hard. I really, you know, call it the welder in me. Go figure. I'm a little bit hard headed.
A little stubborn.
You don't say.
I'm a little stubborn. I'm the big idea guy, and it's hard for me to like really implement things. I'm really good at delegating, even when I need to go and actually implement it.
Gotcha.
So I don't think a partnership would be good for me unless it's really, really well defined, because it's human nature. You always like, you know, when you're there at night and
I'm doing a little more.
They're
and,
at home.
Whatever. Yep.
You're going to,
Yep.
the thought's going to come into your head. You can either feed that thought or you can squash it. But if you do feel like you're slighted, it's going to grow. And, you know, if you have a good open line of communication and you can talk about it without being accusatory to the other person and saying, hey, this isn't working out, and you're both compensated correctly, I could see it working. I just don't know.
How did you do
Because I know you're from day one, Jason. So that's your case from day one, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's working. Rob like kind of footed the bill to put everything back together, and like I get to entirely run everything. And the best part is he's not pulling a paycheck. So
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Well, I won one of those.
yeah,
right.
Yep.
that kind of worked out for me. But I think that's a very unique situation. Not a lot of people are going to find themselves in. I definitely would not go into business with somebody else if it were a different set of circumstances, because you're always going to look out for number one. That's human nature. And
100%.
And if they're not, they're looking out for number one, not the business. That's going to affect me and my family.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
Well, gents, this has been a blast. I know Kevin's got to get out of here. We went a little bit over time, but we got to get him on his flight. Before we get out of here, let's go around the table and tell everybody where they can find you. We'll start with Frankie.
So yeah, Frank Vargas, Torch Tales. You know, pretty much that the name says it all on every one of the platforms, and you can find me at an airport or a plane or a rental car. Yep.
Or a Lime scooter.
Yep. There you go.
That's me.
Yeah.
No, you can find me and my team at JMW Fabrication. You can find the podcast, Welding Business Owners Podcast. We're on Spotify, Instagram, things like that. And you can find the Fabricator Olympics at fabricatorolympics.com.
Awesome. I'm at the Canadian Welding Bureau, CWB Group. We're like the AWS Canada. Google us, the association's free membership, and our podcast runs through there.
5-star reviews only.
Only
Only 5.
Not with 70,000 members, man.
You can find me at Arc Junkies Podcast on Instagram, or Underground Metalworks on Instagram and TikTok. Facebook as well. Underground-metalworks.com if you want to check out the class schedules, and arcjunkies.com. And you can stream the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other popular streaming service.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic.
It's been
Thank you guys.
Been great.
Gents, it's always a pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed the show.